Do you think today's laws are strange? Get ready to travel back in time and discover 10 laws so bizarre that you'll wonder, how was this possible? From absurd restrictions to totally unexpected regulations, some laws in history are so crazy that they seem like jokes from a comedy book. But believe me, these rules were real, and in some cases, even mandatory. From banning the color of clothes to regulating dog barking, these laws defied all logic and were far from common sense. Want to know what bizarre laws have ever existed? Then get ready for a trip back in time that will leave you speechless. And, who knows, maybe even make you think twice before breaking any rules today. Here we go. Here are the 10 craziest laws that have ever existed. No dying. The law that defied nature. Imagine waking up and discovering that death is illegal. In France, some cities have decided that if you don't have a reserved grave, you simply can't die. Problem solved. Or rather, swept under the bureaucratic rug. The logic? A full cemetery, so no dying without prior planning. Of course, because everyone has that kind of control over their lives, right? Did death wait for an appointment at the registry office? Now, imagine an elderly man feeling unwell and someone shouting, "Hold on tight, the registry office closes at 5. Absurd? Yes, but true. Mayors justified the law by saying that it was a protest against the government, demanding more land for cemeteries. What happened to those who disobeyed? No punishment. After all, how can you arrest a dead person? In the end, this law proved one thing. Bureaucracy can be more surreal than death itself. What defines the quality of a pickle? A secret formula? A taste test? No, just the bounce. In the United States, more specifically in Connecticut, there was an incredibly serious law. A pickle could only be sold if, when thrown on the ground, it bounced. No, it wasn't a metaphor for quality. Believe it or not, the pickle had to literally bounce. Imagine the scene. You go to the grocery store, pick up a jar of pickles, and instead of simply looking at the label, an employee comes and, boom, throws the pickle on the ground. If it didn't bounce, goodbye, failed deal. Of course, because a pickle without a bounce couldn't be considered superior quality, right? This law, apparently more sensible than many current food regulations, was the way to ensure that the pickle was fresh enough. If it didn't bounce, it was a sign that it was already wilting, like a frustrating event on a reality show. Who would have thought that the viability of a pickle would be measured by its athletic ability? You think you have rights? Then get ready for 19th century laws. Imagine living in a world where eating chocolate in public is illegal. In 19th century England, this nightmare was real for women. If you were a woman and decided, at the height of your freedom, to take a bite of a piece of chocolate, you could be caught by the police. And all this, for what? To preserve decency and keep women away from worldly pleasures. A true revolution of repression. Now imagine the scene. There you are, wanting to taste chocolate, but the fear of being arrested for it consumes you. The shame of being immoral for eating a simple piece of cocoa. Because, of course, chocolate was seen as something inappropriate for women. If it weren't for that, the law wouldn't even have existed, right? What's most frightening here is not the law, but the fact that it was real, a legal way to annoy women. Because let's face it, nothing says social control like banning chocolate. Striped shirts, the most dangerous garment of the 17th century. Imagine being arrested for choosing your clothes. Yes, in 17th century Italy, this was actually possible. If you were a man and had the audacity to wear a striped shirt, you could be taken straight to jail. But why? For those of you who thought of something simple, like a fashion style, the answer will surprise you. Striped shirts were associated with criminals. Yes, those bad guys you see in movies, and the devil himself. But stripes, unlike today, were not a symbol of cool or relaxed. They were the uniform of evildoers, and those who were blacklisted by morality. Which means that, basically, if you dared to defy fashion, your shirt could be the key to prison. After all, who would have thought that the simple act of wearing stripes could be more subversive than a protest? Only in 17th century Italy, where even shirts had a moralistic agenda. Imagine living in a place where not drinking beer is illegal. In 16th century Bavaria, beer wasn't just an option. It was a must. That's right. It was literally illegal not to drink. In some parts of Germany, if you dared to leave your mug empty, the law was there to correct you. And believe me, we're not talking about a simple recommendation to drink in moderation. It was mandatory. Now imagine the scene. The streets filled with happy citizens, toasting, drinking beer like there was no tomorrow because, well, there wasn't. If you didn't drink, you weren't just an outsider. You were an outsider. Something like a fugitive. And the most amazing thing, this absurd idea still makes some people dream of the good old days. Who needs a water law when beer is the center of attention? Bavaria knew its priorities. Have you ever thought of a law just to stop monkeys from smoking? In 1924, in Indiana, a circus caused real chaos. The reason? A monkey was caught smoking. And we're not talking about a hint of smoke here. No, the monkey was holding a cigarette. Really smoking. Imagine the scene. A small primate rocker, with a cigarette hanging from his mouth, causing panic in a place that should be the center of entertainment. The law's solution: a specific rule against smoking monkeys. Because, of course, the problem at the circus was not the fact that an animal was being exploited, but the violation of its freedom to smoke. The message was clear: no, monkey, cigarettes are not for you. Now stop and think. In the 21st century, where real problems require laws, someone is still debating monkeys and their smoking habits. It's as if the big issue for humanity was, at some point, monkeys not smoking cigarettes. Priorities, right? Scaring pigeons? In San Francisco, that might be illegal. Seriously. Yes, that's right. If you try to scare a pigeon in San Francisco, you could be fined. And no, we're not talking about some cute little warning like, pigeons don't like to be disturbed. We're talking about an actual law that protects these urban flyers. I mean, in a world where people still argue about more serious issues, San Francisco has decided that the lives of pigeons are just as precious as yours. Now imagine you're chasing a pigeon, and suddenly, a cop shows up with a ticket because you terrorized the poor bird. Pigeons have rights. Yes, rights that are more important than many environmental or social issues. Who would have thought that in a city known for its innovation and technology, the greatest legal innovation would be protecting pigeons from their greatest enemies, humans themselves? Red car? In some cities, that could be a crime. In the 1910s, some cities in the United States imposed a rule as absurd as any modern law on social media. Red cars were prohibited from driving on Main Street. Simple as that. And what motivated this madness? Well, nothing very rational. Maybe an irrational fear of flashy colors, or maybe some kind of conspiracy against the aggressive red. Now, imagine the scene. You drive your brand new red car and, boom, you arrive at Main Street and the police are there, waiting. Not for you, but for your fiery colored car. A violation that would probably cause more confusion than an election campaign. The idea of traffic safety? Well, maybe. But it also seemed more like a plan for those who were afraid of the brightness of the color. That's what I call a safety priority. Because, of course, red cars are much more dangerous than others, right? Dog barking after 6 p.m.? Get ready for a fine. Yes, this happened in Italy in 2008. In some Italian cities, if your dog barks after 6 p.m., you can be fined. No, we're not talking about a polite recommendation or a suggestion of etiquette. It was an actual law. Literally, a legal code that prohibited dogs from barking at night. And the best part? The owner paid the bill. Imagine the scene. You arrive home after a long day, and your dog, eager to see you, starts barking with joy. But if it's after 6 p.m., barking becomes a crime. And who pays the fine? You, for something the dog did. Now try explaining that to your dog. Sorry, buddy, but if you bark, not only will you embarrass me, but I could also get a fine. Of course, because in a world where dogs are more controlled than children, the priority is the noises of the night. But the real question is, what if the dog doesn't understand the law? Well, good luck with that. Forgetting your wife's birthday? In Samoa, that can land you straight in jail. Yes, you got it right. In Samoa, forgetting your wife's birthday isn't just a slight, it's a crime. No, we're not talking about a scolding with a half-angry face or a look of disappointment. No, in Samoa, if you forget the most important day of the year for your wife, the law can land you in jail. What does this tell us? That the phrase happy wife, happy life has legal weight, as if it were a contractual clause in marriage. Imagine the scene. You go to work thinking you'll have a peaceful day, and suddenly, the police knock on your door. Did you forget my birthday, mate? But I was just very busy? It doesn't matter. Right away, you're arrested for not celebrating the date as required by law. Things got serious, no lame excuses. And the worst part? Your wife was probably there, watching the show. Now, who really took the idea of "don't make your wife mad" seriously? Samoa, obviously. So which of these bizarre laws do you think would make more sense today? Or maybe you know of an even stranger law that didn't make the list. Tell us in the comments. They might be in a future video. These laws seem crazy, but they make us reflect on how absurd norms can be at different times in history. Now, if you enjoyed this crazy trip through the past, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more curiosities like this. Who knows what else the world has banned or regulated? In completely unexpected ways? Let's find out together.